In my prior role, I would get involved in problematic situations. If there was an issue, they would raise it to certain levels, and then we would have to get involved, have inspectors come in, take a look at the job for failure analysis. Lawyers would get involved, and it would get really ugly and complicated. My business partner and I, he had a very similar experience through his company that he owned. And if you go through enough of those processes where they're very expensive, they're very time consuming, there's a lot of finger pointing, no one really wins other than the attorneys that are billing for the work. And having been through enough of
Yeah.
those experiences, that was really the genesis of this. When we saw the sensor technology that allowed people in real time to get alerted, we knew that there was something there for really the interior trades.
Welcome to Verify Infield, the Millwork podcast. Your host, Jacob Edmond, CEO of Ductworks, will be interviewing experts in the industry to bring you insights and knowledge about the latest trends, techniques, and challenges in millwork. Whether you're a seasoned professional or just starting out, this podcast is for you. So sit back, relax, and join us as we explore the world of millwork. Here's Jacob.
Welcome back, everybody. Today we have two guests from Construction Connectivity. We have CEO Scott Banda and the Vice President, Chris Eichmann.
Yes, sir.
Did I say those names right? Awesome. Well, thank you guys for joining us. And I'm excited to talk to you guys about what you guys are doing. You know, it sounds like you've started in the flooring industry, but you have some technology and solutions to help monitor humidity levels, moisture levels on site for woodworking type products, or well, now really any end of the niche in the
That's
construction
exactly
industry,
right.
it sounds like. Is that right?
Temperature, humidity, and dew point.
Awesome. Okay. Awesome. And I know we'll dive into more of those details, as I'm sure a lot of our listeners are familiar with all those, but don't know that you guys exist, don't know there's solutions like this out there. So that's why I'm excited to share this, is because Chris, we met at
Just
AWI conference, so you're getting introduced to our industry.
It was a great conference, really good to get introduction to the millwork
Awesome.
space.
So maybe to get started, would you guys share a little bit about just your individual backgrounds and then how you guys got to where you're at today with starting Construction Connectivity?
I guess I'll go first. So I have over 25 years of experience in the building materials sector. I worked at a large global chemical company by the name of Bostik, which is based out of Paris, France. And I was the head of marketing and business development for North America. So through that experience, we primarily sold materials like adhesives and coatings and cements, but really kind of climate sensitive materials into the construction industry. We would see problems relative to building controls being turned off or on, windows and doors left open, things like that could be very problematic for those materials during the installation. And we realized that when we saw some of the new technology out there for sensors, that we could put together a solution to really help contractors identify things in real time, get alerts so they could really get in there and solve problems before they escalated. And so my experience is all really building materials and launching of new solutions to really help the industry improve. Chris?
Yeah, and I worked with Scott for 10 years at the manufacturing company. I've got 20 years of marketing experience, digital background, websites, advertising, graphic design, and just ultimately, I'm here to make brands look really good and make things run smoothly with marketing.
Awesome. So was there a genesis to how construction like this, what you guys are doing now, this company is offering these solutions? Obviously the idea kind of starts somewhere. Like, can you tell us a little bit about the genesis to the idea, to the product, to the solution?
So, as I mentioned in my prior role, I would get involved in problematic situations, usually larger ones, on usually the commercial side. But equally, there are a fair amount of residential jobs that would have issues too. But a lot of it would be around, take for example, like a large office complex or office building. If there was an issue, they would kind of raise it to certain levels, and then we would have to get involved, have inspectors come in, take a look at the job for failure analysis. Lawyers would get involved, and it would get really ugly and complicated. My business partner and I, he had a very similar experience through his company that he owned, and if you go through enough of those processes where they're very expensive, they're very time consuming, there's a lot of finger pointing. No one really wins other than the attorneys that are billing for the work. Um, and having been through enough of
Yeah.
those experiences, that was really the genesis of this. When we saw the sensor technology that allowed people in real time to get alerted, we knew that there was something there for really the interior trades.
Okay. Yeah. And so maybe for some context for some of our listeners who are still speaking Greek a little bit, I think a lot of people understand the premise that are in this industry, but in general, in construction, there is a period of time in new construction before
Yep.
climatization of the site, right? And even after, when it's not necessarily managed like it should. And so in your house, in your office, places that are inhabited, they're always climatized. And so the things you have in there, the drywall on the walls, the wood in the furniture, all of that stuff, what you may not realize if you're not familiar with making that is that when it's not climatized, and if you leave it in a hot storage unit, that can warp, that can get wet from just moisture in the air, and it compromises the products altogether. And so this is a big deal in the construction trades to monitor, and it's in our contracts that, hey, these are the ranges that the site has to be before we'll deliver our products, and the GC or whoever's managing that site is liable, responsible for maintaining that. But as we all know, a lot of times that doesn't happen. Hey, rush, get it
Yep.
installed. Yep, it'll be ready to go. Or somebody forgets to turn it on. And so what you're describing, what I think what you guys offer is, because, and maybe with that segue. So one, as my description kind of
Completely
accurate, does it
accurate.
sound right to you
Yep.
guys?
There's a lot to the proper acclimation of the job site before even sending materials there to be stored before they're actually even installed. You're
Right.
exactly right.
Yeah. Yeah, because that's the other thing. Like flooring, for example, usually they're going to send it there and let it acclimate over a period of time. Because otherwise, like if it changes moisture level really rapidly or temperature really rapidly, it's going to warp and things like that. And if you install it before it adjusts, then it's going to affect things. But so talk to me a little bit about like before what you guys have created.
Sure.
How are people
So,
normally managing this?
in the most simplistic terms, what we have is an application that people can use their mobile phone, tablet, or desktop to access. We have sensors that are simple to use. They're connected to the Verizon network just by scanning a QR code, so they don't have to look for Wi Fi or passwords or anything like that. And the way the system works is once you set up a project in the software, it takes like a minute. You then scan the QR code from the mobile phone, and that activates the sensor. The sensor then sends up data every hour through the Verizon IoT network, and it compares the job site conditions to the manufacturer's specifications for those products. If any time things are starting to go out of spec, you'll get an alert on your phone where you can then take corrective action. You can get in there yourself and see what's going
Right.
on. Did someone turn off controls? Or is it such that windows and doors are left open? But the whole idea is to take corrective action in real time and communicate that information to other people, just to really help build the case that things have to be installed within certain specs to ensure that warranties really can be maintained.
Yeah. So what are people doing now
Okay, that's a
who
good
don't
one.
have your
So,
solution?
the better contractors will use some level of a sensor. We'll call it that. They tend to be more like a data logger, which is a good step, and it's kind of until we came around with our solution, the best way to do it. And that's putting these devices around a site, but then driving to the site and connecting to them, either with Bluetooth or plugging it into their computer port and downloading the information. So that's okay. It gets you historical information. The
Right.
That's what the best people are doing.
It's stale data, right? It's
That
data from,
that
it tells you what happened over the weekend. It tells you what happened last week.
Yeah,
but by and large, that's still probably pretty advanced at the advanced level of what most
correct. I
people in
would
the
say
industry are doing,
the
right?
best quality contractors, regardless of the trade, are definitely doing that. Many folks don't even do that. But where the big difference
Right.
is, obviously we are real time. So you don't have to drive there to even retrieve that device or to manually, Bluetooth connect it. The other piece is if that device ever went
Mm-hmm.
missing, all that data is gone. So our data is stored every hour in the cloud. So if something was to go missing, at
Right.
least you've got it right up until that point. But we also have GPS tracking of our
Mm-hmm.
sensors to within 30 feet. And we find they really don't go missing. We've got over 1,500 of these across the US and Canada. And they all come out with job site signage. And most folks are not moving these or taking them. They really have no other use other than monitoring climate conditions. They may get moved, but if they're moved, we can do a GPS track and we say, hey, it's in the left corner of the building, and they find it. So that's a big, it's a big difference. But what we have compared to some of the what we're calling legacy technology.
Scott, do you want to take a second and
Right.
show the hardware?
Sure.
Because I think that
Sure.
helps visualize,
Yeah. Do you have one?
Yeah.
what the
So
device is.
this is our sensor here, and just for I guess a frame of scale, this
Mm.
is the iPhone Max.
Yeah.
It's a little bigger than a deck of playing cards. It's super robust. It's
Mm-hmm.
industrial grade. It can get wet. It can get
Right.
dirty and dusty. And these are basically when I say scan the QR code, all they do is scan that code from their phone, and it essentially activates this. And these are mounted to the walls about
Right.
thermostat height.
And then from that, the software side of things or the user interface side of things is like a web app, or you said you can access on your phone, tablet, computer. So basically, they're setting up an account
Yep.
that their devices are tied to. Um, and then I imagine, company clients, they just only pay
That's
more and
right.
more, I guess,
So, you
right?
would think of our system as an app, even though there's a lot more behind it than that. But from a user perspective, you go to your respective app store, you download the software on your phone, and you're ready to go. We like to
Mhm.
do a 10-minute demonstration kind of training so everybody's super comfortable and they understand a lot of the horsepower behind the solution. But then it's as simple as the apps on your phone. You bring this to the site, you charge it. It has a 3-month battery life, or you can run it plugged into a normal outlet indefinitely. And you basically take this. We have signage that's available. You mount this to the sign, and then usually using like 3M double-sided tape or command strips, they attach this to the wall, scan that QR code, and that's it. So it's very simple to use. We designed this, knowing the real world environment that contractors are in. We know most contractors don't have a lot of time
Yeah.
to learn software. And this is definitely designed for that type of user. It's very intuitive, and again, we can show people in less than 10 minutes how to use it.
What is just I guess lack of what word I'm thinking of, but like, what is some of the response you guys see the first time a GC or some of the trades see that on a job site? Like, I've never seen this before. What is this? They see that sign. Are they looking at that, like asking that trade, hey, how do I get one of those? Or can I use your data?
Yeah.
Like, do you have any of that just
Yeah, I
colloquially
mean,
that happens?
basically, what we recommend is contractor sits down with their owner, GC, whoever, and explain to them what they're doing and the importance of why they're doing it, which is to keep the site within the conditions that everybody needs to secure warranties. Um, the general reception of this has been really good. In fact, we've got more and more general contractors contacting us because they've either seen the sensors or they've seen our reports from the sub. GCs are definitely in favor of this type of data. And what I would tell you is that some people have a kind of a preconceived notion from experience in the past that general contractors don't like this kind of stuff. What we're seeing now is there's a new era of GC personnel. They definitely appreciate data. And what's nice about this is it's very credible, it's objective information, and it's easily and professionally formatted. So when they get it, they respond very well to it. I would also tell you every one of our customers can add their clients to their system. So you could put a homeowner on it and they can see in real time. You can put the general contractor on it, and it kind of brings everybody together on a good, objective, transparent playing field.
It's very common for subcontractors to add their GCs onto the system.
Yeah.
It's common for the GCs to monitor the entire interior for flooring, millwork, drywall during the entire process.
Yep.
Well, I imagine that's the ideal way. It's transparent. Everybody's looking at like you said, objective information. Because in the void of that, it's, well, hey, here I've used the old system. I've taken a measurement, and it's probably very easy for a GC or somebody to refute that. Like, well, I don't trust your device. I don't trust how you collected this data. And so with your system, right, you have date timestamps, you have it's fully transparent, and especially if everybody can be added to it. I would imagine there's a lot of GCs who, once a trade does it, they're saying, well, I want to get this and I want to now offer
That's
this to
right.
all my
That's
sons.
right. And that's what we're seeing more of. And, quite honestly, some folks are saying, why don't you just go after all the general contractors in the US and Canada? And it's part of the strategy. However, that's a long-term selling cycle. And all of our contacts, really, when we started, were really around the flooring related trades. So that's why we started that way. And the interesting piece here that is super applicable to this market of millwork is from, honestly, I think the first project we put it on, which was a engineering building at the University of Connecticut, our flooring contractor, it was a 250,000 square foot project, immediately said the millwork contractor was asking him for the data. And then the GC was asking him for the data. And that quickly became really the two new markets that we put on our radar. And we started to watch that. And almost every conversation we have, it goes to, are you guys doing anything in millwork? So we wanted to get fully stable with the business. We've been in business now for just about 2 years with our doors open. And we have a really solid platform of almost 200 flooring contractors across the US and Canada, about 20 GCs, and now about probably 5 millwork guys coming on. So, the opportunity in millwork is huge just because of the odds.
Everything we do involves wood and
So
temperature sensitive products. And I would say I've never heard of a millworker even doing the old process you described of sensors that are on site. Like, I've been in this industry working with millworkers for about 15 years, and this has always been a discussion point once we get to site mobilization and install. And it's always, hey, we have a schedule. The GC wants us to hit the schedule, but they have acclimatized. I don't care. Get your products on site. We'll make it fine. And then we end up with wall panels. I mean, like, you see whole lobbies full of wall panels that are warped, that are compromised. And then we're coming back for warranty work, and it becomes this battle. And quite honestly, I think most subs, most trades, but I know in millwork, most contractors, millworkers aren't equipped, like from a legal standpoint, from a technical standpoint, how to combat that. And so they're just kind of taking it on the chin to keep the job. And having something like this, a pre-built solution, here's how to use it, here's what you need to do. It's simple, it's objective, it's not combative, it's literally just information, and it helps everybody.
Thanks. I mean, what you described is a situation. I was actually just over in Cambridge, Massachusetts, at a large pharmaceutical company's headquarters, and the lobby was all this beautiful paneling. and a lot of it was delaminating. And
Mm-hmm.
the same type of situation, they believed the root cause was the product had taken in too much humidity during when it was supposed to be acclimating. And to your point is, it's really, this gets down to, and what we hear all the time is, from the different contractors, none of them even really, some of these folks don't even know each other, and they say the same thing. They're like, this is the data that I've always needed to push back credibly to my client. So the theoretically, and we know the difficult situation that all these subs are in. They could show up and they say it's too hot, it's too cold, it's really not advisable. But it's more like, it's more hearsay. This makes it data driven, and the
Yep.
graphs are there, and everybody takes it a lot more seriously.
And it's right away to where action can be taken, preventative actions can be taken to solve it. Whereas even in the current model, what normally people do, even if they have those sensors on site, it's more like, well, I've collected data to
Right.
make my case when things fail. And this is, how do we prevent things from failing to begin with? We now have the information right away. Okay, it just got too wet, it just got too humid, it just got too hot. Call the GC, hey, we got a problem, let's fix it. I'm going to get my product off site, or I'm not going to come, or whatever that is. You're preventing
100%
the
right.
problems.
Right. And part of that is knowing the conditions before you send a union labor team on site, and find out the conditions are out of spec, or you send your installers and you just wasted a half a day of labor, right? And
Yep.
driving times and all of that can be avoided by having a sensor on site, knowing ahead of time what you're driving into.
That's right.
Yep. Awesome. So
Yeah, did you, I mean, we
sorry,
kind
go
of
ahead, Chris.
covered it, but there's some best practices as far as, timing of how when an installer puts a sensor on site, and then how they move through their project from start to completion. I don't know if you want to kind of touch on best practices, recommendations.
Yeah, do you want me to
Yeah,
touch?
go
So why
ahead.
don't I touch on that, right? So, when we started, we thought it was all about monitoring during the installation. And we quickly saw most of our customers were putting sensors on the job sites a couple weeks or even a month early. And what that did was give them their own visibility as to site readiness without being told. It's very common to be told by their client, hey, the site's ready, send your guys here. This would allow them to be like, you know what? Here's a report. It's clear that this place is not stable yet. So they could have those conversations more credibly. And then, obviously, when things became controlled, it's appropriate now to send the material there to start acclimating. You can monitor it during acclimation. And then, to Chris's point, it even tells you, is it really appropriate to send people there to start working? And we would hear from numerous people, whether in rural markets where they had to drive several hours to the site, or even the urban markets, Manhattan, they drive in, they park, they have to go up a tower, they get to the top, and all of a sudden they realize three windows aren't really in, and it's 68% relative humidity. Now what do? They have to redeploy the labor team and still get hit with, if it's union, get minimum fees for the morning, or if it's their own people, of course they're missing productive time and they have to be redeployed. So it's equally as important for that. And then we've also had a lot of guys are starting to leave the sensors on the job site now, really until they run out of battery. Because, as everyone knows, you can do your work wonderfully and leave the site and be on to the next project, and then only to find out they crank on the AC and don't cool the building slow enough, or they do it too quickly, or windows and doors are still left open by other trades, and then you're blamed for warping, cracking, buckling, whatnot, gapping, shrinking. Same thing all the time. So it just, again, it triggers when those things are happening, and you can respond before it becomes a problem that you have to deal with.
It's awesome. Are there any things that you've learned since so far that you didn't expect, or the ways people are using this, or things that, I mean, I know you mentioned right away, it was like the millwork people came out of the woodworkers saying, why, how do we get this? Um, uh,
I
People
think
staying long term.
there was a concern that GCs wouldn't be receptive to the information and the data, and we found really quickly that they do want that information, and they ask for it, and they take on seats
Hmm.
with their subs and monitor together.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with Chris. I mean, when we started the business, a lot of folks were saying to us, I don't know about the GCs liking this. And quite honestly, we were having the same market research conversations with general contractors, and they were like, this is great. We've never seen data like this. Of course, we want to keep our conditions in the best range as possible for all these subs, because it does help quality control and scheduling and all that. And some of our best clients now, biggest, are the general contractors. I would say that, and then we've dealt with the whole thing with our software is it's simple. My partner and I, and Chris is probably one of the most tech oriented of us all, but basically our history is not, we were not software people. We brought in the software people, so our whole thing was to build a solution that was really simple to use. So what we're now seeing is they're asking us for other functionality. So we've built in photo capture, and within the click of a button, you can now take a photo of anything, save a note, and store that in the cloud. So that comes into your reports as well, and that's a great way to, communicate, but also to document your business, your things for your protection, essentially. The other piece, people are asking us for task assignment. We've built in a very simple solution. Within the click of a button, you can assign people tasks. So we're starting to see a lot of these other kind of, I guess, installation related challenges come kind of surface, and folks are asking us, hey, can you guys develop something that's even easier to do this or this or this? So our initial monitoring kind of solution is now kind of morphing into even more, like, I guess, installation support related features. So it's,
One
it's pretty cool that way.
one of those features was a, do we call it a submittal doc? So for a millwork situation, you can get a one-page report with the AWI standards. It shows the temperature range. It lists all the products that are going to be used and their respective temperature ranges, all in one document. So those are just simple
Yeah.
adjustments that we can do to automate and make that communication much more seamless.
Great point.
Yeah. That's awesome. Yeah, and I would imagine, maybe you've already heard from this, but I would imagine even just like facilities maintenance in the future would be a great use case for something like this, like large, like I know, my father-in-law works engineering in a large hospital system, and so their full-time job is maintaining the facilities and maintaining the conditions of everything, and an air conditioner goes down and they need to go fix it right away. Things like that. I mean, this seems like kind of like the possibilities are almost endless of how valuable this could be to a lot of different
Yeah, you're right. I mean, there's
use
there's a
cases.
lot of different use cases to get into. Ongoing building monitoring is definitely one of them, and we have solutions for that. We just haven't really focused on that yet.
Yeah. Yeah. So,
Well, when it
ahead,
comes to
Chris.
building monitoring, right? If your existing system runs on Wi-Fi, the power goes out, your Wi-Fi goes out, your
Mm-hmm.
AC goes out, the heat goes out, right? And you don't know
Mm-hmm.
until someone's on
Yeah.
site. So
Yeah.
the having a data connection solves all of those issues, especially in the construction environment when you
Yeah.
really don't have Wi-Fi or you don't have connections and passwords and all
Yeah.
of that. It's just got to be super simple.
So, looking towards the future, obviously you guys are still very, very early in kind of startup stage, and have established, obviously, product, client base, solutions, but are constantly developing. What is, if you're able to share, what is some of the future for construction connectivity? What do you
Sure.
see
So
happening in
we're
the near
already
future?
integrated. Third party integrations is kind of the big area for us. Um, we have our first integration with a company that makes sensors that are placed into the concrete floor to basically monitor concrete slab relative humidity and temperature. We can do that now remotely. There's other sensor hardware out there that we plan to integrate into for, recording of other things on site. We are, through our relationship with Verizon, we have access to a lot of other things. There's other software applications that we can bolt on. There's cameras. There's air particle monitoring, things like that. That's a big deal. We've also been approached by several other more or less ERP platforms that are looking for third-party integrations as well. So we see that happening. We've got a couple underway right now. And then really the continued expansion of really our solution. So we have, a never-ending pipeline of other features that we can continue to add to the software to make it, I guess, even more useful for managing kind of installation related tasks. So there's a bunch of things that's coming on that front. We've also got a news channel that we've built into this that helps contractors stay on top of the latest product releases and technical bulletins put out by the manufacturers. So think of something like LinkedIn, but highly curated content that doesn't have a lot of noise in it. It's by manufacturer, what the new product is, and what technical bulletins are out there. So we're really looking at this as a community. We've got, probably, I don't know, 1,800 individuals right now on our platform through 170-ish, 80 companies. And it's really becoming a community of users. And we're really listening to them all the time and trying to build out more and more functionality to help them make their kind of managing of their field ops easier and more effective.
Awesome.
There's a lot going on.
A lot of development, a lot of things coming. Yeah. I mean, I think that ERP integration sounds like it would be huge for a lot of people, if they're already using an ERP and these sensors are tied to job sites or projects in the ERP or work orders that can, alert within their native system. This scope.
Yeah, if you think of like a typical use case on that we keep hearing about is if they're in the ERP and they're looking at a job and they're looking at all the materials that need to ship to a project, they can hit a button quickly. And we've already kind of doing this with somebody. It hasn't launched yet, but they can hit a button and basically immediately see the real-time conditions on that site. So that will tell the scheduler, should we send this material there or not? Without having to say, somebody go drive there and see if the windows are in. So it's that kind of real-time dashboard capabilities we're going to be doing a lot more of. Yeah.
That's huge.
With all of these different, add-ons, it's at the core of it, they've got to be simple. And we've had ideas that it felt too complex, too heavy, and it just detracts from the tool, right? These are, at the end of the day, our core audience is the installer, and they're the talent. They're using their hands and they're working on the job site. So we want them in the app and out as quick as possible, and just super intuitive.
Yep.
Awesome. Well, there's a couple questions I like to ask every guest, and I'm curious from you guys' perspective to get your insights. And the first, in the industry, and maybe thinking just in the construction industry in general, what do you see changing over the next 5 to 10 years, aside from every job site having a...
Sure. I mean, I think, the topic that everybody hears about all the time, it's even on 60 Minutes now, is about the labor shortage and all that. So, from what we see here, the use of technology on sites is becoming more common. I'd say that the use of monitoring sites is, from our experience, what we're seeing, monitoring both ambient as well as even video monitoring is becoming more common. And the reason is obviously, you can use less people, keep your highly skilled people really producing what they do best and not having to kind of run around and monitor things and all that manually. This type of stuff is definitely impacting the building quality. In essence, a better product is produced more efficiently on schedule with less failures. So I can see a lot more software and hardware tech solutions being deployed. I think ongoing building monitoring is going to become very common, kind of what you alluded to earlier. As these things become, as battery life becomes less of an issue and simplicity of installation continues to improve, I think you're going to find more and more and more job sites are going to have this type of stuff on there.
Yeah, and Scott really took. I mean,
Awesome.
the number one answer is the labor market, right? And companies that are
Mhm.
helping alleviate that pain are going to be successful and help you work smarter. Uh, I mean, on the other side, you touched on it, right? We're using IoT technology. It's a system of connected devices. There's data behind it. There's analytics. There's potential to incorporate AI. There's so much behind this technology. It's just really on the cutting edge of the future for the construction industry.
Yeah.
Awesome. So, on the flip side, what do you see staying the same or kind of remaining constant over the next 5 to 10 years in our industry?
Remaining constant.
I mean, if you ask me, I think change is hard, right? And we're introducing a new technology and asking people to try something different, and it can take a while to adapt and try a new way of doing it, right? You could continue doing installations without monitoring, but this really improves the quality of the outcome.
Yeah, I would agree with
Right.
Chris. I mean, there's obviously the early adopters. Um, there's definitely the laggards, and I would say that the folks that are not bringing in technology over time, they're going to definitely be at a disadvantage. It might be a 5 year time frame, a 10 year time frame, but we're already seeing the companies that start to bring in technology, whether it's this or whether it's an estimating tool or whatnot, they are establishing themselves in their market as a leader, as a high quality subcontractor using the latest technology. And it's those folks that are starting to separate themselves from the pack.
Right. Yeah, I agree. I mean, I think that makes a lot of sense, and it is change is always going to be hard. I think it's always going to be a constant. I think in our trade and construction in general, we tend to be the laggards, or at least the late majority in technology, adopting things later than other industries. Uh, but I do see there being more and more, as you alluded to, more a changing of GCs that are interested in data and interested in these things, and some of that comes with kind of the turnover in leadership as we're getting younger talent. But
Yeah,
um, talent shortage is a huge thing, and so solutions like what you guys offer that do directly reduce how many people need to go to the job site, how often do they need to go to the job site, how many people need to
the
do tasks
the
directly impacts
the other thing
people's
that we're
bottom
seeing, and we're
lines.
hearing it actually, um, is the fact that companies that use technology, this has been a topic at several conferences I've been to, are more apt to attract younger people. We're hearing constantly that if younger folks are interviewing with a firm and they detect there's no tech there, they're not even really interested in
Hmm.
working there. They perceive it as an outdated type of business environment that they don't feel is going to facilitate growth for them. And we are
Yeah.
involved with the unions, the Painters and Allied Trade Union, Install, which is the Carpenters Union, and they are starting to bring in more and more technology related courses and whatnot. In fact, I was just on a call the other day with the drywall folks, and basically they're developing courses to bring into the high schools to basically try to recruit more folks into that trade. And a big part of it was, let's show them how technology is part of the trade now. It's not just all about hand skills, because that's even more intriguing to some of the younger folks too, a blend of tech and hand skills. So, it's pretty exciting that way.
Yeah. No, I think that's a really good point. And I think if people are feeling, which almost everybody is, that, hey, how do we get new talent interested? How do we get young people interested? And if I'm a young person and I have an opportunity with your company, and your company doesn't have sensors, doesn't have technology, doesn't have anything in the current century, and then there's another option that does and is leveraging and trying new things and is saying, hey, check out this new process we have in ERP, we have this technology, we're trying these new things. It's a pretty easy choice which one you would choose to go work with. Well, awesome. I really appreciate you guys taking time out to come share with us about what you guys are doing. I think the solution is phenomenal. I'm excited for more people in our industry and millwork to hear about it and try it. If people want to find out more about you guys, about this product, about your services, or reach out and contact, what's the best way for them?
I'd say it's to reach out and take a look at our website, which they can find at construction-connectivity.com. There's all kinds of videos there and whatnot, and they can hit the contact us button and find us that way.
Awesome. I will link that in the show notes. So if you're listening to this, you can go to the show notes and jump straight to that website and find out more. Is there anything else you'd like to share?
I will say that we, recently joined the AWI. We're excited to be involved in the September conference. You're going to see more from us in terms of kind of participation in the monthly newsletter mailings. And we're a member of the Northeast chapter, so we're going to participate in a webinar on that as well. So there's going to be a lot more communications to help build awareness from us. But we know it's a great solution. We've got several very happy millwork contractors, and we're excited to really get involved in this trade.
Awesome. Well, let's just say, I'll be seeing you down in Amelia Isle then, and looking forward to continuing to chat and hopefully have you guys again on the future once you got your.
Awesome. Well, we appreciate this opportunity tremendously. So thanks really for having us on.
Yeah.
Agreed.
Thank you, Scott. Thank you, Chris.
Thank you for listening to today's episode. Do you want to stay up to date about industry insights, new content, and our community of millworkers? Go to ductworksmw.com to sign up for our newsletter. I'll see you in the next episode of Verify in Field.